This is the final complete 10th turn of my 2020 aerobic compost heap, and this time I'm going to be working towards crowding it to one side of my section here, my composting section, because the next turn, and I'll call it a turn, but it's actually distribution. I'm going to be distributing this into beds, and I want this open here, so as I'm working building my beds this way, I'm taking from the pile, and then I'll be able to finish the last bed with what remains over there as I'm distributing it. And I also have some year-old material here from exactly a year ago. I'll show you what it looks like a year later, and we'll compare all that in the next video. So I'm going to do another speed time lapse. I'm not going to be talking. We want to get through this. I'm anxious to get this whole thing in a growing pattern now, and excited that the weather's been cooperating. We were getting regular rains, and everything in the garden is popping. The entire backyard is becoming an eye-popping affair. All the blossoms happening and all the wildlife visiting, and I think sometime in July, maybe August, I'll do one of those total tours. It's probably going to be a couple hours. So let's get at it. Alright, here are 2 black walnuts. This one must have been in the pile pretty good. You can see the husk is all eaten away. It's just the shell there now and the seed inside. And here's one that wasn't probably in the pile very well. You see there's still some of the husk in there. So that's part of the experiment on this pile. Will this jugalone kill everything that I plant on the beds? The other experiment that's been ongoing here is I've added a lot of material here, and more than normal, more than I've ever done, I'm sure of it. There's a lot of stems in here. Let me pull just the flavor of it out of here. You can see it hasn't been totally digested. Lots of stems. And I'm viewing that as a positive because as I form the beds, worms are going to come and finish that off. And as the worms are doing their thing, they're actually leaving fertilizer behind for the plants. There are a lot of benefits to doing this work and making this type of compost. I'm going to give you just two of them. I participated in a permaculture design course based on Permaculture Designer's Manual. And it takes time to learn about all these connections that are going on. And what it actually is learning how to think multidimensionally. There are a lot of influences that are going on this planet, and different influences in different climates, different geographies. And it's about piecing all these influences together. These are all dimensions that you're piecing together. And I've been thinking about this now since 2013, since participating in that course. And I'm not an expert, and I don't have the experience like Jeff Lawton, who's done this for 35 years. He can think of things a lot quicker, have a lot more ideas. But I am piecing this together, and I'm beginning to think multidimensionally. And we can go through a lot of reasons why this type of compost is a huge benefit to the land where I'm applying it here. But I just want to give you two. One is I've locked up a lot of carbon in this material. And carbon is the absolute #1 building block of soil. And it's what soil life depends on. And the other is this material is sterilized. There aren't any weed seeds in it. It's all been ate by the bacteria. There are no parasites. There are 2 parasites that can live through this type of a composting situation, but they're down in the tropics. And I've actually allowed this pile to go for 3 days, 2 times, and it's gotten hotter than probably beyond than what you really want to have it. And that's what kills those parasites even as well. So you haven't got any parasites in there. You haven't got any pests in there. A lot of pests, they lay eggs, or they have casings, or larvae or something in the soil that's waiting to hatch out. All of that's been ate by the bacteria. If there were heavy metals in this material, it's been bound by the carbon and rendered inert. Some of the elements have been transitioned from an inorganic to a more soluble, easy to utilize directly by plants elements. So I guess I'm adding up a whole bunch of reasons here. But what I'm planting on this material is going to grow. This is the 3rd year now I'm trying it. The first year was an experiment. Last year I'd say it was still an experiment. Perhaps we still have an experiment going on here because we have the black walnut hulls in here and lots and lots of stems. But I'm pretty confident that we're going to have a success story here again. 3rd year, 3 years running. And how many years does it take before it's no longer an experiment? I don't know. I'll probably add something next year to make it another experiment. So I guess with that, we're going to conclude these complete turns of my 2020 aerobic compost heap. The next video is going to be Sunday. I'm going to make it Sunday, and I don't know, maybe I'll put that one up Sunday afternoon right away as soon as I do it. That's going to be distribution into the beds. I'm also going to get out my compost sifter and sift a wheelbarrow full of material out of here, and then we'll compare the rough stuff with the mixed stuff, with the sifted stuff, and the compost from last year. I'll have a couple piles out and we'll kind of get close-ups of it so you can see the differences. Now there is a school of thought that says you have to rest compost for a whole year. Well, this isn't that type of compost. That's anaerobic. That's a whole totally different process. Our soil, our garden soil, is aerobic, and there's a transition period, so I agree. Because I've done the work of turning this pile, it's ready to go right now. And with that, stay tuned for the next episode of As the Compost is Turned into Garden Beds. And here was the last complete turn of the 2020 aerobic compost heap, and I got it crowded against the edge here of our composting area because the next turn is going to be distribution in the beds. So I'll be taking the material off of the edge here in the middle of the composting area and starting to build beds there. And as I work the material down, it'll make room for the next bed, for the last beds. So I'm excited to plant it up and see what happens.